Hi, my name is Jigna Patel, and I'm a contemporary abstract artist based out of Chicago, Illinois. Today's date is February 12th, 2025, and I'd like to welcome you to my studio. So, I have a background in healthcare. I've been a clinical pharmacist for 15 years. The first 9 years were in abdominal transplant, and then the last 6 years were in various ICUs, including trauma and during COVID. And in my time in the ICU, I have spent a lot of time having conversations with patients and family, even in the transplant world. And I found that these conversations that really were about validating their life and how they lived, and that's what they would be remembered for and things like that, were the most healing for the patients. Even though what we do in healthcare is very important, I recognize that I might have had a gift to connect with people when they felt like they couldn't really connect with others. Um, and this primarily is the driving force behind my painting. I felt a compelling need to start painting these kind of conversations, and that's what I paint. So a lot of my work carries messages of hope, of resilience, compassion, and love and light. It's there to remind us that no matter where we are in life and no matter what the dark and disturbing things might be going on, that there's always some light at the end of it. I was raised in East London in Manor Park, and I lived there until I was about 11. And then I moved to the southern coast in a little town named Saltdean, which is right outside of Brighton and Hove. And it was here that I took art and textile design for my GCSE coursework. And that's when I really felt like I could do this as a career. I learned so many different techniques. I learned about all these great artists that came before us. And I really thought I would do it. However, because I was raised in a traditional Indian home, art is mythically considered to be a hobby and not really a career path. So I ultimately chose pharmacy as my career path. But I did paint for pretty much my entire adult life. And it wasn't until my youngest son was about a year old, and I was in the US by then. I moved here when I was 15. My son was sleeping through the night, and I really felt like I needed to have an outlet to release my day, stress of my day. And I started painting and practicing with other mediums. I was doing more resin work at the time, and people just started buying some of the work that I was creating, and it was great. But it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years ago that I decided that this was my calling, that I really wanted to do this full time. My current biggest influences are Rajan Seth, who is one of my mentors. He is, or actually is my mentor. He is an abstract artist based out of London, and he's brilliant at what he does and how he teaches. Um, and he's very inspirational. And then I also really love Connor Francis's work. Both Rajan and Connor use similar mediums to me, and their styles are a little bit different, um, but they're very inspirational in the way that they um, maneuver the medium that we use. And I just love seeing their work. Back when I was doing art and textile design, I was heavily influenced by Frida Kahlo because she just has this amazing ability to tell a story in her paintings that, I think very few artists have been able to capture. So I really loved her work back then. But as I've gotten more, I mean, I still love her work, but as I've gotten more into abstract art, I really am mostly inspired by Rajan and Connor. Recently, with my expressionism work, I've been more inspired by Nicholas Wilton. He commands color like nobody else I've ever seen. And then I also really love Ursula Brenner's work. She can move energy through her canvas just incredibly well. And I love seeing her process and how she works through it. And then I also love Nancy No's work. Nancy has this very ethereal or mystical quality to her work that almost reminds me of the kind of love and light that I'm trying to paint. So I'm heavily inspired by her ability to make it feel like you can be transported into another world just by staring at her paintings. So those are my favorite inspirations right now. The thing I'm focusing on right now, most in my business, is trying to get as many views as I can on my work in person, because I think that my mission is to really help people understand the kind of psychological impact that original artwork can have on our minds and therefore our health, because they can really help you heal from things that you didn't know you needed healing. And I know that sounds cliche, but if you ever stand in front of a canvas for long enough, you'll know that there is a conversation there. It's not just like you looking at the work. You might find it telling you certain things based on, the subtleties that you see or notice. There's so much power in the emotion that is evoked by color and pattern, and that's why I love abstract work so much. My current biggest challenge as an artist is getting enough time to paint. And I know that sounds funny because I'm an artist, I should be painting, but in this day and age, we are also content creators. We are the marketing manager, we are the ad campaign manager. We wear so many different hats that sometimes it can be a little bit harder to paint as much as we'd like to. But I am really trying to use technology to my advantage and try to get back into the studio more. The advice that I would give to my younger self, I think, would be to maybe not listen when I was told that art cannot be a career and is just more of a hobby. Um, I don't regret going to pharmacy school and being a pharmacist. I think that the experiences I've had in my ICU and transplant service lines have really informed my spirituality, which is a big part of my painting process. I definitely leaned on my faith and my spirituality a lot when I saw people dying and suffering in the ICUs. So I think that a lot of my work is, like a mirror for the kind of things that I dealt with. But I do hope, I do wish that I was able to pursue art a little bit more. The most unconventional mediums that I have tried to use are joint compound, which is pretty much what I paint mostly with. I It's like drywall compound essentially, and I've used both the powder form and the paste, and I love it. It's so versatile. You can make it look like a bird, you can make it look like a tree, it can be rough, it can be smooth. There's so much you can do with it. You can crack it, you can, make it not crack. You can paint over it. So there's a lot there, and so I'm still exploring that medium, and I just really, really love it. I don't think there's much else that I've used that is unconventional as far as mediums are, but I've definitely used a lot of unconventional tools. I think I've pretty much used everything from my kitchen, definitely to paint with. So those are the most unconventional things I've used or techniques. When I'm painting, I most of the time paint in complete silence because I'm trying to speak to my painting. I'm trying to have a conversation with it. But occasionally, if I feel like my mindset is a little bit different to what I'm painting, then I will listen to something that will get me in that mindset. So, for example, if I'm painting about spirituality, then I'll listen to hymns and things like that. Or if I'm painting about love, I'll listen to an audiobook or a podcast on love, or songs that remind me of love, things like that. So I really feel like your mindset and your energy that you have when you're painting really goes into the painting, and then is then the conversation that the viewer has when they see your work. The best reaction I've ever gotten for my artwork is actually from my husband, because he does not understand abstract art at all, and he's usually more of a realist admirer. And he's usually asking me, what does that mean? But one day he came down to the studio and he was just staring at one of my paintings, and he said, "Oh my gosh, it's just like my life." So I said, "What do you mean?" And he started to describe how he was feeling and what he thought about the painting. And that was very touching to me because I felt like if I can move somebody who doesn't even understand abstract art, then, maybe I'm onto something. What I hope that you take away from my work is that whenever you see one of my paintings, I hope that it helps you know that you are loved, you are enough, and you are cared for. And that if you have nobody else that you can speak to in that moment, that my work will be there for you. I hope to heal through my artwork just like I have healed through medicine over the many years of my career as a pharmacist. I truly think that this work can help build compassion and help give you hope and help give you some love when you need it most. I cannot thank you enough for listening to my journey, and I hope that you will follow along and see what else I come up with. I am so excited to be here and to be able to have this opportunity to speak to you all about the things that light me up from the inside and why I create what I create. I hope to see you soon in person. Bye bye.